Okay, a bit of explanation here. This is the Balanced Scorecard, and it basically segments the business into financial, customer, internal business processes, and learning and growth in terms of how you service the customer, how the business operates. And what then happens is that it comes up with goals that are either uncategorized or categorized. In this case, it's come up with uncategorized, which can then be dragged down onto the matrix there based upon where they sit. For example, foster strong relationships with suppliers to stay ahead of the market trends. That might be internal business processes, Chris, or customer.
I would put that probably in internal business processes. Yeah.
Okay, so and we drag that down. And as before, we build it out, in this case, with the drag and drop. Let's look at improved profitability by levering government incentives. Where would that be? Financial?
Yes, I would say that's a financial goal, yeah.
Okay, so that's a financial goal. Yeah. And you're getting the idea. So from a customer, enhance customer satisfaction by offering comprehensive bike maintenance services. So that's perhaps, is that customer or internal business process?
I would put that as a customer satisfaction. I would put under customers. The general principle here, Barry, is by categorizing them in these four ways. The logic is, for a commercial enterprise like a bike shop, you have to have some financial / profitability targets, because you need to make sure your bike shop is financially sustainable. Obviously, if you're if you're not making a profit, your bike shop won't last very long, and therefore you won't be able to do what you set out to do for very long. So you need an understanding of the financial economic outcomes to drive the success of your business. It then follows that the source of revenue for your business is going to be the customer. So you need to say, how are we going to satisfy the customer need in such a way that they will keep coming back and spending money with us, so that we can achieve our financial sustainability. And then it goes down the next thing and says, what are the internal business processes that we need to excel at, which will allow us to satisfy the customer need so that we can achieve our financial sustainability. And then the last one is, what are the learning and growth? Think about the people characteristics, training, hiring, incentivization, reward, etc., that we need to put in place that will enable our people to excel at the internal business processes, which will satisfy the customer needs, which will cause them to keep spending money and keep the business sustainable. So there's a logic built into the process there,
upon which each level is built.
Yes,
from a sustainability and a profitability and an organizational perspective.
Yes, and the theory is, if you get that logic right, your business will be successful on a sustainable basis. And if you get that wrong, you will run into difficulties, and you will have to then go back into your analysis and say what's not working in this business, and make appropriate adjustments. Right. So once I've set all of my goals using that framework that we just outlined, I can then select one. I'm just going to select this one here: enhance customer satisfaction by offering comprehensive bike maintenance services. And if I click on that, again, it's going to open up a record, which I can add some more information about what I mean by that, and why I think it's important and how it fits into the framework. I can also go and break it down into some SMART objectives. So one of the ways that we handle the tension between long-term directional aspect of strategy and make it something tangible I can deal with is we split things into longer-term directional goals and then shorter-term, more tangible objectives, which we would usually say we want to be.
So for clarity then, goals long-term, objectives short-term. So objectives are stepping stones along the way to the long-term goal.
Yeah, so we have objectives as stepping stones to the long-term goals, And the other thing that we have are initiatives, which are the things that we're physically going to do, the changes that we're going to make in our business that will take us towards the long-term goals. And it's a distinction that people often struggle with initially, but I think it's really important to maintain the distinction between what am I going to do and what outcome do I hope to achieve. And the reason that's important is because I see so often people say, right, what we're going to do is we're going to do the following things. And then if they're good and disciplined, obviously, in some cases, they just never do them, which is a separate problem. But if they're good and disciplined, they do the things that they said they were going to do, and they get to the end and they declare success.
Yeah.
And the problem is doing the thing that you said you were going to do is not success unless it achieves the outcome that you said it was going to achieve.
Yeah.
Right. So in this case, for example...
So can I just pick that up? What you're saying here is that the initiatives feed into the objectives, is that correct? And then the objectives drive you towards the goal. And you can have a successful objective, successfully achieved objective without ever reaching the goal. The idea is to ensure that all the objectives are met and line up and achieve the ultimate goal.
That's exactly what it is. You need keep your eyes on the prize, as they say, right? Don't get so enamored with doing what you said you would do, and people end up talking about busy work. We were busy. We did it. We accomplished a lot of things, but those things didn't achieve the outcome.
Yeah, accomplished a lot and achieved nothing.
Yes, and the reason why it becomes a problem is doing the things you said you would do is usually in your control, right? So I can say I am going to send out 300 marketing flyers, right? And so I can say, well, that's in my control, right? I can make up the flyers, I can have them printed, and I can post them out. But remember, the objective behind sending 300 marketing, or the goal or the objective behind sending those was to draw customers into your store. And if you print and send out the 300 flyers, but no one comes to the store, you haven't achieved your objective. So there's no point in just sending out another 300 because there's something wrong, right? And until you know what's wrong, and maybe it's because you're sending it to the wrong kinds of people, or maybe it's because you've got your messaging wrong, or maybe it's just that no one wants to buy a bike. And until you know that, just carrying on doing the thing that you said you were going to do is not going to make any difference. So important to distinguish between what's the outcome we're hoping to achieve and what's the activity that we're going to do it. Now, so on the screen, for example, we've got the goal up here, which was we were going to enhance customer satisfaction by offering comprehensive bike maintenance services. And I can manually input some objectives here and create some initiatives, so some outcomes and some things we're going to do. Or actually, and I can ask a StratBot to come up with the initiatives for me. And it's going to just wait for the screen to reload.
And emphasizing while it's doing this, all of this is always being saved. It's a continuous save process, so you don't have to click any Control S or any function is happening. The saving is automatic. In fact, just for those who are used to, perhaps haven't seen it, top left-hand side next to the StratNav words is the left-hand button. Takes you to the previous page, and some people don't see that initially and start clicking on the browser back button. Chris, can you just highlight that, the back button? Have you just done that?
Yeah, it's up,
yeah.
Up, yeah.
You can see Chris has put a flag up against it. That's the one. You'll see it's the left-hand arrow at top left. And I speak as someone who was using the browser button, and one day I discovered that. So it's one to remember and to know that.
So there's a simple reason for that, and that is if you click the back button in the system, then the system is able to say, let me make sure I've saved what you've done on the screen before I leave it, right? Whereas if you click on the browser back button, the system has less control. It will still try and prevent you from leaving the screen until it's saved the information, but it's just much less elegant because the browser is controlling it rather than the system is controlling it. So You can do it either way, but I always encourage people to use the system back button because it just gives the system a little bit more control over how it handles any specific things. So, so while we were having that little conversation, you see it's come back with some suggested initiatives, and again, things that I wouldn't necessarily have thought of. So, investing in some advanced diagnostic tools and training for staff, that seems perfectly sensible. So you would say, yes, if I wanted to be able to provide bike maintenance services, that would seem fairly obvious. But it suggested a loyalty program with offers and incentives to keep people coming back, to keep their bikes maintained, and suggested an online booking system for doing that to make it easier. So again,
just remind us, Chris, how we got into this screen. What did we hit to get into this screen?
So we were on the goal screen, and I just selected this one particular goal. I clicked on this one particular goal, and we came into the screen. And then I asked the StratBot to suggest some initiatives, and it's come back and said, here are some things that I think you could do that would help you to achieve the goal of enhancing customer satisfaction by offering comprehensive bike maintenance services. So it's done that. Also,
we're 53%. We're 53% of the way towards our strategy already.
We're making good progress here, absolutely.
And we're still under 2 hours.
We're now getting to the point where we're talking about here's some stuff to do, right? So I can actually now roll up my sleeves and make real world changes in order to launch my bike shop. I wanted to point out as well, I didn't mention this initially, the system has already linked this to one of the insights on our PESTLE analysis, effectively. It said, this is why this is important, because it had identified that as an opportunity already. So again, it's keeping all of these things linked.
Right.
So I've got some initiatives.
That in turn was also an AI generated.
It was.
That's an insight. So that insight was actually it was an opportunity I can see, because it was a green opportunity. What's the thing next to it? So next to it was that a blue.
It's a technological thing on the PESTLE.
From PESTLE, and
it came from the bargaining power of buyers on the Five Forces. Yeah.
Perfect.
So it's keeping that thread of logic for you. It's saying this goal here, you didn't just make this up. You put it there based on these insights, and you might link it to some other insights as well if you want. There might be some other insights that are relevant to this.
And this is extraordinary. I mean, because this isn't only double entry bookkeeping. This is triple, quadruple entry. I mean, it's keeping multiple records. It's unbelievably clever.
If you go back to the strategy board, right, it's building this logic. So there you can see the link from your goal back to the analysis. You could see that, and you can also see the link from the goal forward to the planning and the initiatives. So it's managing those links for you.
Right.
And then just go back to that record. So we've got that goal. We understand. Let me just wait for the page to finish loading. So we've got that goal. We understand the insights that caused us to set this as a goal. And when it finishes loading, we know what some of the kinds of things that we might do to achieve that. It's also saying that we should define some. Remember, I said we would break our goal down into objectives. So it's suggesting that you do that next and saying we can help with that.
So it's saying here the AI tip is create new objectives.
Yes. The AI has come back and said we're unable to do that automatically, so we'd have to do that manually. And this does happen sometimes. AI is not infallible. So
and
look, I mean, can't do that.
Yeah, and there might be a perfectly good reason for that.
Yes.
That there may be some constructive reason why we can't make that connection or come up with a proposal, and that's what our brains are for here, folks. This is
exactly. And as I like to say, the AI as it is now is the worst it's ever going to be. So the AI will keep getting better and will keep being able to do more things.
But it's also critically important that people who are working with this stuff are maintaining the critical thinking and aren't just relying on AI to build out models, and understand that AI is not only fallible, i.e. it might not have an answer at all, but even that the answer it gives might not be the answer that you would perhaps want to use, or might not be an infallible answer. And so this is
Yeah.
always about best practice, due diligence, check the AI work, just in the same way as if you were passing this to someone to do it for you, you would not accept it as a fait accompli. You would be double checking it, triple checking it for gross errors and also detail errors.
Absolutely. And you should be continually reflecting on and challenging yourself to do better. The future success of your business hinges on how well you do this. So you should be constantly reflecting on and saying, is that really the most important thing? Is that really the way I would interpret that? Do I really believe that to be true? Is that connection really the important connection to make? And as you refine it, your plan, as you refine the plan and execute the plan, because remember, as you execute, as you actually do these things, you're learning more and more as you go, and you need to keep feeding that learning back into the plan so your plan gets more focused and creates more value in your business as you go. It's not a static thing that you do once and just forget about it.
And again, back to the gross error check here. Just because the strategy board says you're 53% or 93% or 97% of the way through doesn't mean that you're finished. What it means is that you've been through the process, it's seen all the constructive parts, but it is vital, isn't it, to go through and look at it, and does it make sense maintaining the critical thinking, because it is your organization, it is your business, and it does matter. You've got a lot of help here, but it's constantly it's why pilots always do the external walk round before they get airborne, because everybody's fallible and that there is no system that is infallible.
Actually, Barry, it goes a step further than that, because if you were to get your plan to 100% complete, and if I'm being entirely honest with you, I've never got to 100% before. I've got close to 100%, right? But nothing's ever that finished, right? Even if you got to 100% complete, if you went away and came back next week, you would see those points start to erode, because the system understands currency as up-to-dateness, currency as a concept. And it will start to say that something ought to have happened here, and it hasn't, right? And it'll start to say there are things that according to the strategy you ought to have done, but you haven't yet done, and that happens across a number of dimensions. So you'll start to see your level of completeness erodes unless you continually actively manage your strategy. You cannot this is not like the old days where you'd go away for a 3-day offsite, you'd come back with a strategy, it'd be a lovely document, and you'd put it on a shelf and not think about it for a year. This is something that you need to be.
But that's not how the world works anymore, is it? I mean, the world and it really never did. It was just the capability of the systems meant that there was no ability to really do that effectively. Even if you're a large multinational or conglomerate, you'd have a lot of people working strategy.
So this system is working to embed itself. Remember, we don't want you to run your business Monday to Friday and then think strategically at 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, right? We want you to think and act strategically in all of your decisions in your business, so it becomes embedded in the way that
strategy is not just for Christmas, Chris.
Strategy is not just for Christmas.